Hey, what is up, Southwest students? My name is McKenna, and I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. I feel like it's been forever. It has been forever since any of us have done a recorded one, and I feel extra long since I've done one. But I'm so excited to be here with you as we start this new series, and it's all about the questions that you guys have. But I have the opportunity of speaking to you on week 2, which means that there was already one out. So if you missed that one, make sure you go back and watch it. It's an incredible time. But let's hop right into it. Okay, so I don't really watch a ton of TV or movies. I like to rewatch the same shows if I have time to watch TV, because then I don't really have to pay attention to them. And they're kind of just background more than I actually am paying attention to like the new things and the details and the storyline and all that. So I don't really have a ton of time for that. But if I told you all the shows I've watched, you'd be like, you have a lot of time. But I promise, old Kenna had a lot of time. I don't anymore. So with that, I don't really keep up to date on like the movies coming out or anything like that, because I never really go to the movies anymore. And so the other day, my little sister, she texted me and said, hey, can we go watch a movie tonight while you watch us? And I was like, sure, we can go watch a movie. But if you know me, I can't sit still. I can't stand still. I'm always talking. So movies are like not my jam. Like a movie experience every once in a while, cool. All the time, no thanks. So I didn't even know what the movie was. She texted me and was like, it's called Free Guy. Well, then my mom ended up buying the tickets. All that to say, we went and saw a movie called Free Guy. I had no clue what it was about. I didn't know who was in it. I didn't know any of it. So if you're like me and you're not really a movie person and you're like, what is this movie she's talking about? Let me give you the quick gist, okay? So I sit down in the movie theater and all of a sudden it starts, and it's pretty much about video games, which I play video games every once in a while. It's a very rare thing, and it's usually with my little brother. And that's, again, if I have time for it, so it's not really a thing that I do a ton. And so I sit down and it's about video games. And I'm lost. Pretty much the whole like first section of this movie, I have no clue what's going on. My siblings are laughing. Everyone in the crowd is laughing. Comedy is not even really my thing. I'm at the movies because it's something to do while you babysit instead of sitting at home. And so basically what happens is there's these two main characters, and they're like real people characters. And that'll make sense in a second when I tell you about the video game. And they create this cool game. And it's basically like Grand Theft Auto, but like a cleaner version of it, if that makes sense. Like you get in the game and then you have all these like programmed characters around you. And so what you do is if your character in the game has glasses on, like sunglasses, it means that you're a real person playing in the game. And the people around you without sunglasses on are the programmed people. And so it's about this character named Guy, and no one knows who he is. No one knows where he's coming from, and he's really good at the game. And so he figured out the secret to where if you put the glasses on, it makes you one of the main characters. And so he puts a pair of glasses on, and he's trying to find this girl in the video game who he really likes, and he thinks it's the one for him. And so he finds her, and he finds her in this like deep layer part, and he's trying to pick up a gun, and he can't pick it up, and it's not working. And she looks at him, and she's like, check your level. Like, what level are you on? That's only for a specific one. And Guy's like, what do you mean, what level am I on? And she goes, tap the side of your sunglasses. So he puts his sunglasses on and he taps the side, and above him comes this number. Well, her number is really high because it's one of the creators, and she's really good at the game. And Guy's level comes up and it's 1. And he's super disappointed, and he's just trying to figure out how he can accomplish getting a higher level. And she teaches him really quickly that a way to get a higher level is by doing a bunch of things throughout the game. Whether it's good deeds or bad deeds, accomplishing tasks makes your level higher. And you're like, Kenna, why are you telling me all about this game? And why are you telling me about this movie? And you're spoiling the movie. And I promise I'm not spoiling it for you. There's so many other things that happen throughout it. But it's going to make sense in just a second. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Have you ever heard that saying before? Well, I'm pretty sure everyone has heard it. But I heard it once like a while back, and like a lot of times in one season of my life. And then I haven't heard it in so long. And I was in a conversation with someone the other day, and they were like, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And I was so frustrated with them saying that, because beauty is subjective. And when something is subjective, it means it is all opinion-based. And while opinions of all kinds and from every person are valid, like you're allowed to say them, they're not always true. In fact, most of the time, they're not true. And so when someone said that to me, I was mad, because we weren't even really talking about the looks of a person. We were talking about just a person in general, and it wasn't mean, and it wasn't supposed to be like aggressive or anything like that. We were just talking about a person. And it got me thinking about the phrase, beauty is in the eye of a beholder. And beauty can mean so much more than just looks. It can mean smarts. It can mean athleticism. It can mean kindness. It can mean whether someone serves or not. Beauty is more than just how someone appears physically. And so then I started thinking about it, and I started thinking about how basically when you add all these things together, your smarts, your kindness, your looks, your physical beauty and all that, it gives you your worth. And it determines who you are as a whole. And so it got me thinking about the game and the fact that pretty much all people are living their lives with a pair of sunglasses on. And they're living their lives based on this number that's above their head. And it really matters who gets to speak into that. And it really matters who determines that number. And so in our Bible story today, John 6, 1 through 15, we're not going to read all of it. We're going to skip around a little bit. We're going to talk about a young boy. And this young boy is poor. He has no money. He comes from a family line that doesn't hold a lot of value in a society. Where if you and I were to put a pair of glasses on, as if we were in the game Free Guy, we would look at him and his level would be really, really low. And so basically the story goes on to say, Jesus is hanging out with all the disciples and they see a large crowd of people. So it starts and says, after this, Jesus went away to the other side of the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. And a large crowd was following him because they saw the signs that he was doing, what he was doing on the sick. Jesus went up on the mountain, and there he sat down with his disciples. Now the Passover, the feast of the Jews, was at hand. Lifting up his eyes then, and seeing what a large crowd was coming toward him, Jesus said to Philip, where are we to buy bread, so that these people may eat? He said this to test him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of bread would not be enough for each of them to get a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, there is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, but what are they for so many? Jesus said, have the people sit down. Now there was much grass in this place. So the men sat down, about 5,000 in number, just the men, which means not incorporating women and children. Jesus then took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to those who were seated. So also the fish, as much as they wanted, and when they had eaten their fill, he told the disciples, gather up the leftover fragments, that nothing may be lost. See, a lot of people look at the story, and they look at the miracle that Jesus just performed. He turned 5 loaves and 2 fish into enough food to feed over 10,000 people, because if 5,000 of them were men, they all had most of them had wives, and most of them had children, if not many of them. He took this small amount of food and he fed thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people. And so people look at this story and they say, wow, look at what Jesus did. But another perspective that we could take on this story is, wow, look at the way that Jesus looked at this young boy. He looked at him with such value, and he looked at him with such hope, and he looked at him with this perspective that this boy could do so much more than any other person could even imagine. And so I think the problem with the world that we live in today is we're all looking at each other so constantly, and we're all judging the way that someone appears or the way that someone presents. And because we do that to so many other people, then we do it to ourselves as well. And we look in the mirror and we see every imperfection that we ever have. And we look in the mirror and we see everything that we've ever done wrong in our past. And because we can do that for ourselves, we think that that's the way that Jesus looks at us. And so basically the whole reason I told you about the movie Free Guy, and the whole reason that we talked so long about that, and the whole reason that I brought up the sunglasses is because constantly we feel that Jesus is looking at us with a pair of sunglasses on and he can determine our value. And we think that it's a number. And we think that if we work harder, if we do better things, or if we accomplish goals and tasks, that our number is going to increase and Jesus is going to love us more, or people are going to love us more. And see, the thing about Jesus is when he looks at us, he doesn't see a number above our head. He sees words above our head, and he sees the word enough constantly above our head that no matter what we do, no matter what mistakes we make, it will never change our value in his eyes. See, if you're taking notes, I want you to write down what he says is greater than what we see. What Jesus says about us is always going to be greater than what we see about us. No matter how hard we work, our value is not going to change because Jesus always calls us loved. He always calls us valuable. He always calls us enough. And time and time again when we question our worth, and time again when we question whether we're enough based on what other people say about us, what other people think about us, whether we had a good day or a bad day, Jesus will constantly look at us and that our worth will never change. See, because we were made in the image of God, which means that we were made perfectly. Jesus looked at us and he formed us in our mother's womb, knowing exactly what he wanted us to look like, exactly what he wanted us to accomplish on this earth, and exactly how much he loved us. See, every time that you look at yourself and you put yourself down, you're putting down the work of Jesus. He handcrafted you with every imperfection and every flaw that you could ever think of. Jesus handcrafted you, and he took a lot of time doing it. And so I think the problem is we all think we can do life alone, which I know we say it all the time. You can't do life alone. But it's so easy to think that you can. And in hard season and in desperate seasons and in seasons where you just feel so lonely, it's so easy to isolate yourself and to try and find your worth by yourself. But boys and girls, you need people around you who speak love and life into you. They're not going to change your worth or your value because only Jesus defines you. But they can help encourage you in hard times. They can help remind you of how worthy you are. They can help remind you of how you are enough and you will always be enough. So whether you are in a small group or not, I challenge you to reach out to those around you. And if you're not in a small group, get plugged into one, because that's where you get to grow and connect with people around you who are the same age and have the same interests and values as you. And you have a leader who's going to pour into you and love you constantly. So whether you're struggling with knowing you're enough or not, know that Jesus loves you, he sees you, he cares for you, and that will never change. And no matter what you are going through right now, you are loved and you are sought out. We love you, Southwest students. We'll see you soon.